Okay, let me start again. So welcome to the AI Business Hub webinar sessions. This is the fifth and the last session that we have been holding. And we would like to give you some words regarding what is AI Business Hub. It brings the intelligence subject and its applicability to the real world, contributing to prepare companies and society for this new reality. So it's intended to promote the fusion of scientific knowledge and the best practices in the industry, so that in a cross-domain way, we can take the best advantage of this new technological revolution. We are building a strategic vision to increase competitiveness to the choice and adoption of the best solutions in each context. And our ultimate goal is to encourage the implementation of practical and successful use cases, contributing to modernization of companies, government, and society. In this sense, the AI Business Hub will be open space, technologically agnostic, fostering cooperation and sharing knowledge and experience with inherited support, combination of ICT subject experts and on data science and executive education. So basically, this is the biggest motivation of this initiative, which in the end will belong to all, contributing to it in favor of a more competitive and modern society, but at the same time, much more inclusive. In this fifth and last edition on the summer seasons, we'll present the use cases in the area of healthcare process management by our member NAE that has a long history on telecommunications technologies and IT consultancy, and brings today showing us some references on the artificial intelligence domain dedicated to today's subject. But they have already started some projects in Portugal. They have done projects in Spain and Latin America. So we'll start this cross-domain by introducing the different subjects, and now we're going to introduce the people that is participating today from NI. So we have the president, Mr. Jean Alarcon. He's an associate professor of ESAD Business School, and he was as well an associate professor of Catalonia Polytechnic University. And we brought as well an AI expert, product and business development manager, Henrique Saun. He's also post-graduated by MIT Sloan School of Management and has an MSc from University of Zaragoza. Myself, as you can see, my name is Luis Filipe. I'm business consultant for the development of the AI Business Hub, bridging the academy and as well the market at national, international level. So, Jean Alarcon, the floor is yours.
You have to unmute, James. You have to unmute. You are muted.
I'm not listening.
Okay.
It's okay now?
Yeah, it's okay now.
Again, thanks very much to ICT and AI Business School, and especially thanks very much to Luis Filipe to make it possible. And thank all of you that are attending the webinar. In the next 10 minutes, I will share with you about some key aspects about NAE. The subject that we are going to talk today is very aligned with this present social situation of the COVID pandemic, because it's related to health and all aspects that make health be more efficient, more covering more services, and really very technical advance, it will be very good for all humans. In these days, it is demonstrate how important is the match of technology and health. This match is good for every sector, but nowadays it is very special important this match. So today we are going to talk about how artificial intelligence can improve the healthcare processes. Something about NAE. Next, Kike. We want to work with customers together in order to achieve their challenges, in order to achieve their transformations. We have a lot of experience in different sectors and different type of areas of our customers, and we aim to challenge also our customers to go beyond. We want to have the opportunity to help our customers moving ahead without any constraints. Next. We in NAE, we are a company that we are very close to our customer. We are very expert, and as I mentioned, we like to dare to go beyond. Okay. We have Luis mentioned it already. We were born in Spain. We really earlier we stay in some projects in Portugal, but still need to grow there. And a few years ago we go to the Americas. We start in Colombia. Our Colombia operations is quite big. We open Mexico with very challenges and big projects. Then Costa Rica, and a few not too long ago we start in Brazil. Something about AI. Everybody is convinced about the importance of AI. Everybody talks about it. But my opinion is that it is more blah, blah, blah than real results and implementations. And taking in another league, the big companies, the companies like Amazon and Google and so on, that they play another league. But for the normal even big companies, medium-sized companies, and so on, is more talk than really results. So we are still behind, and we have a lot of space to move on. But here I have to comment, to share with you that in my opinion the importance is not the data. The important are the questions that we want to ask to the data. If we have a lot of data, but we don't know why you use what is the utilization of the data, it's nothing will happen. Important thing are the questions. What we want to obtain from data. Of course, there are lot of benefits. This is very clear. But in this forum today, I would like especially to insist on the need of have a clear idea on how AI can help us, and this is the questions. What I said, the importance are the questions, not the answers, are the questions. In this case that my colleague Quique Saún is going to explain, is a clear example about what I said. It is an example of an organization that is in the healthcare system, where they had real challenges, and they really knows what are the questions that they want to ask to the data, and working with using good methodology, good professionals, good project management, and these good questions to fix. The results have been really spectacular. So this is the key. Quique? All governments are really very aware about the importance of technology. In fact, everybody of us know that thanks to technology, we are not dead at all on this recent problem with the COVID. Thanks to technology, a lot of companies have continued working. The processes are still operational in most companies. It has been relatively easy to go to the remote work, and clearly also is very well known from the governments that technology is the key for the near future, is the key for tomorrow, is the key to really go ahead from the critical situation that we are today. And this an example is Mr. Manuel Heitor, the Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education in Portugal, that mentioned this importance of the use of high technology, but not just for the big companies. It's important for the SMEs, very important. Portugal, Spain, and other countries have a lot of SMEs, and then it's important this aspect of the use of technology for all the economic ecosystem, big and small size companies. And inside these challenges, one of the elements that can be key for the future is AI. So now my colleague Quique is going to explain give you the details of our case. Back one moment, Quique. But I like this phrase, bad decisions make good stories. but good decisions make big companies. And this is the key. And big companies does not mean just size of the company. Big company is the company that really influence on the society, that really influence in the near environment, that really influence in all the economic ecosystem that helps countries, cities, and society to evolve. Finally, just to announce you that NAE, we have enough experience and enough references on data-driven solutions, but we also have experience in other areas like business strategy, digital services, technical transformation, and so on. So thank you very much. And I hope I'm ready to answer your questions if there is some at the end of the talk of Kike. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ginés. Muito obrigado, Luís, Bernardo, todo o AI Business Hub, o ISCTE, pelo convite, e a todos pela participação. And sorry, that's all with my Portuguese. So I need to switch to English. So first of all, I would like to start with some statements about the challenges that companies worldwide are facing when they have to deal with data initiatives. Oh, sorry, are you missing my screen? Sorry.
You have to share it again.
I will do it again. Sorry for that. Can you see it again?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it's good.
So as I said, I wanted to start with some statements about the main challenges that companies worldwide are facing when they have to deal with data initiatives, and about where they are standing in this journey to become a data-driven company. So as you can see, 84% of executives believe that most of their employees should use data analytics to help them accomplish their job duties. So I guess that if this is what they believe, this must mean that these employees are not using data analytics, right? We see that 50% of companies state that inadequate data quality is the biggest challenge they are facing when dealing with their data. So here we have one of the biggest problems that we're going to have to deal with. We see that only 24% of companies across Europe already have a strategy for data governance in place. So as you can see, there's a lot of work to do here. There's a lot of things to do yet. We also see that less than 20% of organizations believe that their ability to access, analyze, and obtain meaningful insights from their data is adequate. So again, a lot of room for improvement we can find in here. Some good news is that 63% of global CEOs believe that AI will have, or I would say even not only AI, but advanced analytics solutions and everything related with exploiting data. This will have a larger impact on their business than the internet. However, the bad news is that only 13% of data science projects reach production. And even fewer than this 13% of the projects really generate business value. So this is another key problem that we need to address. So what is our response to these challenges? At NAE, we try to help our clients to overcome all these challenges with an end-to-end value proposition. So on one hand, we help our clients to define their own strategy to become a data-driven company. And what does it mean? This is a company that understands and adopts the data culture with the aim of optimizing decision making. And particularly, we help them to define and put in place data governance and data management initiatives to have reliable data and clear policies and processes to access, rule, and exploit all this data in a secure and proper way. On the other hand, we also help our clients to develop visual analytics applications and dashboards to track their main business KPIs in real time, and also advanced analytics solutions based in AI and machine learning, for instance, to predict key business metrics and anticipate business challenges. Now, going closer to the main topic of this webinar, which is healthcare, right? I would like to first tell you about some examples about how AI is already being used to transform the healthcare industry. So here I will share with you a couple of examples for a large hospital system in the US. So this is a real case, right? And this first example is about using machine learning, which, as you know, is one kind of AI, to predict, in this case, the number of patients that one hospital is going to have per day and per department. And based on that prediction, we are able to optimize the staffing that we will need in the hospital. On this slide, you can see the results. With just 1% of a staffing optimization, I prefer optimization rather than reduction, we could get up to $9.5 million of savings per year across these 38 hospitals of this hospital system. So big numbers, right? But we have even bigger numbers with this second example. Here, machine learning has been used to predict the length of stay of patients at the hospital, so that with that prediction, doctors can take proactive actions to reduce the length of stay without impacting or reducing the quality of care of these patients, right? And again, you can see that only with 0.1% of stay reduction, we can get up to $47.5 million of savings per year across 38 hospitals. So we are talking about big savings, right? There are a lot of examples of use cases of AI on healthcare. I just wanted to share very briefly some of them. For example, to predict and prevent hospital readmissions. So this is important that when we are going to discharge a patient from the hospital, and maybe it is very likely that we will have to readmit it in the coming days. So maybe if we think that this is very likely, we want to make a better diagnosis. We want to make additional tests so that we can be sure that when the patient is discharged, he or she is not going to be readmitted very soon, okay? We can also identify at-risk populations for a particular disease. So to predict when a particular person or segment of people could be more propense for a particular disease. We can also predict intensive care units occupancy, and so optimize the staffing levels accordingly. Very similar to the use case I mentioned before. And a slightly different use case is about optimizing the drug delivery to hospitals by predicting and consolidating shipments of these drugs. Okay.
Very good.
So before going on, I don't know, Luis, if we have.
So maybe
questions.
it dropped me. I mean, you have been showing quite sizable kinds of businesses. You know, it has been the hands of big companies, but we understand that this is one of our goals as well. And I think NAI as well, not only address the major companies, but as well smaller companies, what is being usually called as SME, small, medium companies. Now, is it applicable to this kind of smaller businesses? What is your view on this? Is this become democratized, the usage of artificial intelligence that we can apply to smaller companies? Because particularly in the case of Portugal, more than 90% of the market are made of SMEs. So if we want to use new technologies, it's not for the big ones, but to the small ones that we should be using as well. This is a direction that has been given by European Community and the financing on this targeted kind of business. Can you give us some lights on this, Enrique?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that Spain has the same situation, the same distribution of companies. We also have a big proportion of SMEs in Spain. And it is very usual that people think that only big companies can afford to apply AI to their business. But yeah, we can, maybe we talk about use cases for big companies because that's the way that you can see big savings or big results. But of course, small, medium companies can leverage AI to optimize their core processes. And it doesn't have to imply big investments in tools or technical resources, because nowadays there are more and more tools that simplify the development and democratize, as you said, the development of AI solutions. And if anyone is working for a small company and wants to explore how to apply AI to its business, at NIE we are more than happy to listen to you and look for the best solution. Okay.
Thank you very much, Enrique. Please move on.
Okay. So now we would like to share with you a real success story from a real experience that we have been working on with a client from the healthcare industry in Spain. So first, who is the client? Who is Mutua? Well, by the way, Mutua is not the real name of the customer. Mutua is how we call in Spain these non-profit companies, which are social security partners. I guess that this is something similar to the ADSE in Portugal, as far as I know. But in this case, this is not limited to state employees or retirees. So it's particular for any type of worker, okay? So as I said, Mutua operates in collaboration with the Social Security and is in charge of the management of economic benefits and healthcare, which is derived from sick leaves of workers, okay? I just want to highlight a couple of figures and we'll come back to them later on. So Mutua has to manage more than 2.5 million sick leaves and more than 1.2 million healthcare visits per year. So with these figures, as you can guess, any improvement in the processes involved with these activities can result and can have a huge impact in the P&L, in the profit and loss of Mutua. And for sure, Mutua was very aware of that when they asked us for help. Well, sorry. Mutua presented us with two main challenges. And the first one was about how we could help them to become a data-driven organization, okay? So first, we need to understand or to be clear what a data-driven organization or DDO is. And you can define this in many ways. There is not a single true definition. But if you want to simplify and come to the point, we would say that a DDO is an organization that understands and adopts the data culture with the aim of optimizing decision making. Well, so it is not only about technology. It's clear that technology is a key part in all this journey, okay? But we'd rather say that it's mainly about a cultural transformation that empowers people to get the most out of the data. and do it reliably so that we can avoid mistakes in the data and wrong misconceptions based on experience. And it's more about being able to make decisions objectively, okay? So in order to do that, we put focus on 5 key axes that are involved in this transformation journey. Business, people and organization, processes, technology, and data governance. We then used different frameworks to assess the maturity of Mutua for each of these axes and define what would be the maturity target according to the reality, the needs, and expectations of Mutua. And this is important because we cannot claim that all companies are at the highest level of maturity on all axes. But what we have to do is to set ambitious but realistic objectives for each company. Okay. Let me just give you a quick overview of the main recommendations that we gave to Mutua, and which, by the way, these recommendations we are now helping them to put them in place in order to move forward in this transformation journey. So regarding business, we helped Mutua with the definition of an analytical strategy aligned with their corporate strategy, and also with the definition of quick wins with real and direct impact on the other business, and that could be executed in the short term. And this is something that we will see later on with the second challenge. Regarding people and organization, we defined and I mentioned the essential analytical team that Mutua needed, as well as a plan to implement a data culture for Mutua. Regarding processes, mainly what we did was to redesign all the processes that are involved in obtaining, analyzing, and exploiting data. About technology, of course, we had a lot of focus also on technology, and here what we did was to define the basic architecture and the tools that needed to cover their analytical needs for the medium and long term, right? And finally, regarding data governance, we indeed defined a data governance model and all the policies and roles involved, with a clear focus on quality, security, and reliability of the data that was going to be used later on. Okay. And now, let's focus on the second challenge. So, if you remember at the beginning when I presented, when I introduced Mutua, sorry, I talked about the big impact that we could have on Mutua business if we could help them to improve the management of more than 2.5 million sick leaves and more than 1.2 million healthcare visits per year. So before going to the detail, first we need to understand how Mutua manages the sick leaves. Basically, there are 2 key decision points that you can see on blue in the screen, right? First, once a new case arrives, the doctor needs to make, of course, a diagnosis and estimate how long the worker will be on sick leave. And also how often the worker, the patient, needs to be visited. And second, after each visit, the doctor can decide whether to make a discharge proposal to the Social Security, which has the final decision to end the sick leave or not. And here it is important to note and to understand that doctors cannot make a discharge proposal every time after each visit, because If that happens, then the Social Security would become saturated and they would just reject all the proposals. So this means that these discharge proposals really need to be well justified before doing them. So this is a simplified way of presenting the workflow, but at least it is important to understand these two main decision points, right? And up to now, how did the doctors take these decisions? Well, basically, they used their experience and historical data from the Social Security about the average length of the sick leaves for each diagnosed disease, only with just small adjustments based on the occupation or the age of the worker. But mainly, this is how they took these decisions for both decision points. But of course, there were much more data available that Mutua could use to improve this decision making. Like it could be the location, the antiquity of the worker, the type of employment, the salary, work conditions, and up to 60 new variables that were not being taken into consideration up to now. So as you can see here, we had a lot of information that was not being used, and we need to really leverage this information. So after working on all this data, and this is a huge part of a very important part of work, a huge amount of work, I meant to say, sorry. After preparing, cleaning, integrating all the different sources of data, we started working to create 2 predictive models with machine learning. And just for your information, we used over 3 years of historical data with more than 3 million sick leaves and more than 300,000 discharge proposals. So, as I said, we created 2 models. The first model was trained to predict the duration of each sick leave. So the output was the number of days of the predicted duration for each sick leave. While the second model was trained to predict the probability of acceptance of every discharge proposal. So in this case, the output was a probability of acceptance between 0 and 1. Okay, now we have 2 good models in place, and I will explain later on why I say that we have good models. Okay, but the question here is now, how are we going to leverage these predictions to optimize the management of the sick leaves? Because having good predictions without being able to action them, it makes no sense, right? Well, thanks to the first model, which remember predicts the duration of the sick leaves, doctors can now optimize the frequency of medical visits for the workers. Doctors can also identify patients that are close to recovery and that could receive a discharge proposal with a good probability of acceptance. And also, they could now identify anomalies, which could be caused, for example, for a wrong initial diagnosis. And thanks to the second example, to the second model, sorry, the main benefit is the ability to identify and prioritize the cases with the highest probability of acceptance for a discharge proposal. And with all this, big savings are being obtained, thanks mainly to a reduction of unnecessary medical visits and a better forecast of the resources needed by Mutua to manage all these sick leaves, of course, without impacting and reducing the quality of care to workers. These economic savings are something that we haven't been able to measure precisely yet, as we need to have a full year to compare results. and we are just we have 6 months of running these models, and maybe even I think that 2020 is not going to be the best year to compare results. However, it is been quite clear that Mutua is getting big benefits from these models. Okay. Now, going a bit more technical, which, by the way, I am not an architect, an expert architect, but here you can see a simplified high-level overview of the architect that of the architecture, sorry, that our data architects implemented for our machine learning system. Basically, we have the SAP application that doctors use for the daily activities. And this SAP application is going to be the main client of the machine learning system in order to request for new predictions. Okay. And here we can see two main processes to make the predictions. The first one is a batch process. You can see it with the blue lines. The first one is a batch process that occurs on a daily basis, where all the new and updated cases are uploaded to a PostgreSQL database. And then new predictions are performed for these cases on our prediction server. And then these predictions are updated back to the database and the SAP application. Okay. And on the other hand, you can see in yellow, we have an online process that occurs on demand when the doctor wants to make a prediction at a specific moment in time and for a specific patient. And so a request is made directly to the prediction server through an API that will respond with a prediction for that specific patient, and so the doctor can take an action at this in real time. Okay. Finally, we have a custom application that gives us a sanity check about the status of the models and allows us also to audit the predictions versus the real results, so that models can also be retrained automatically when needed, or at least once per month. So here you have the as you can see that the models were good. Okay. Here we can see a quick overview about the metrics we obtained with these two models. First one, a regression model, as you remember, to predict the duration of the sick leaves of the worker. This model has improved in 35% the mean absolute error of the original model that, as you remember, it was based on the predictions based on the historical data of the Social Security. But even more important to that is that we have a 600% improvement of R-squared, which is going to allow us to capture the outliers much better. And this is important because these outliers are normally the most expensive cases that Mutua needs to manage, particularly the patients with the longest sick leaves. Right? And on the other hand, about the second model, which is a classification model, we are talking all the time about supervised machine learning models. Okay? This classification model to predict the probability of acceptance of a discharge proposal has allowed Mutua to improve the effectiveness of their discharge proposals in 67% compared to their previous effectiveness. Right? So it is important here to note that all these metrics have already been measured and confirmed in a production environment. So these are real metrics. These are not theoretical metrics that we have just gotten from the test data or something like that. Okay. Well, finally, this is a simulation of the dashboards that doctors could see on their desktops. This is what we like to say. It is the new normality for Mutua, which I'm sure it is a term that is very familiar to all of us on these days. And thanks to this new view, this new dashboard, which again is just a simulation, doctors now can have a much more accurate assessment of the evolution of their patients. First, by having a better estimation of the duration of the sick leaves, and then also knowing whether a patient is close to recovery, so that a discharge proposal can be considered for this patient. But also, doctors can now detect any kind of anomaly, as I mentioned before. And these anomalies can be related to very different situations, but two main situations that we really need to take care of is that it's about fraud situations, people that really are trying to cheat the Social Security, right? Or also wrong initial diagnosis. For example, a doctor has estimated a diagnosis for a worker with a very short sick leave, and then you see that the patient is not recovered at the end of that period, and maybe this is because there was some kind of mistake with the diagnosis. And that's it. I wanted to finish this webinar with this statement by Andrew Ng, which I really like. Maybe it is for those alarmist people that think that AI is going to rule over people in just a few years. Well, I would tell them that don't worry, this is not going to happen, at least not soon, okay? Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Muito obrigado. We're happy to answer if you have any questions, or if you prefer, if you have also our email addresses for anything you want to know in more detail about the presentation, about NAE, or whatever. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much,
I have one question here, one that arrived from email. I don't know if I can address the question to Enrique, Luis.
Bernardo, let me just, before going directly to Enrique, as we have had the first part from Ginés Alarcón, who introduced, just let me come to the first, and then I hand over to you, Bernardo, on specifically. Yes, just to focus on Ginés. We have been talking, I mean, is the AI Business Hub. As we know, the subject of today is AI, and it looks, but I mean, from the background of NAE, I'd like to know where do you stand today, whether you became completely focused on artificial intelligence, or whether you have kept some other scopes of activity in NAE in other matters, or you fully focused on artificial intelligence. Can you give us a bit more on this? Tell us a bit more, Ginés.
Okay. Thank you, Luis, for your question. It's very convenient to say that for us, artificial intelligence is a strategic focus, but it's not the only one. Our company, we have 15 years of history, and we have a lot of capabilities and a lot of references on important projects. I can mention, for example, that in 2014, we did for the insurance company Mapfre transformation, digital transformation plan, a strategic plan in the early times. I mean, 6 years ago. Or, for example, for companies that you probably also know in Portugal, like SEAT or Repsol, we are working for them in the strategic area of governance of IT, or for a company like Renfe, public sector, railways. We did recently digital maturity assessment for the company, or for the Barcelona port, we are managing the plans of the different strategic projects that they are managing. And so these are few examples of real projects that as you can identify with in different sectors. But also it's important to say that we are really we have leadership, important leadership in the consultant business in the countries where we have presence in the telco ecosystem. We are able of, and we have references in all the aspects regarding the telco and their ecosystem environment, like from business plans to deal management, mergers and acquisitions, implementation of networks, a customer journey and experience, and so on. So some activities that we have are key for us. One is of course able to do activities like business plans, but for example, for the project management, we are really especially efficient, and this is very appreciated for the market, because you know how easy it is to define what you want to do and never achieve the final due to the difficulties to manage all these project management, as well as processes design and procedures and so on. So we are really in the complete areas of the consultant companies. Yes, finally, I can say we are really playing in the top league with competing with the big four companies and all the rest of the important companies.
Okay, thank you very much, Finish, for the clarification. So it's AI is a subject that is of key importance today, but you see you have the global picture, you address the global picture of the companies on the digitalization, on the process, on the management, which is very important nowadays, is reduce costs on companies. So operational aspect, you just mentioned project management and operations is key to reduce the costs. Okay, thank you. I'll be hand over. It looks that Bernardo mentioned there are some questions you want to raise.
Yes, I have
so
here.
I'll hand over to you.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
I have here two questions, but maybe I can merge these two questions in just one, because I think they are quite related. I think they are addressed to Enrique. What have been the major challenge you have faced in this AI implementation process? And the other one, I think it's quite similar. How did you manage to collect or to gather all the requirements to create a machine learning solution for a business that never used machine learning or AI or these AI technologies? So they are not exactly the same, but maybe they have something in common.
Yeah, so regarding the challenges, I can think particularly of a couple of them. The first one would be a conceptual challenge, because as you mentioned with the question, we needed to understand a business that was not familiar to any of us. And then also validate that we could use really machine learning to improve this decision process. So for that, we really had to work very jointly with the customer to have a good understanding of their business and about their processes, to really understand what were the friction points and what were these decision points that could be improved. Okay. And another challenge, I think it was about translating the results of the machine learning models into actions, actions that could really improve their processes. And again, this was a joint work with the customer to help them understand and explain what the models were saying. And finally, also make the customer believe and trust in what the models were saying. So this is very related to a term about AI, which is explainability of AI, which is a key part of AI. If we really want that companies start adopting AI, it is very important that companies can trust on AI. So if these models can be explained, it will be much easier that companies trust, and also it will be much easier to translate predictions into actions. The second question was about gathering requirements, right?
Right.
Again, for a business that were not very familiar to us, right? Here we try to use some tools, and one of them is the machine learning canvas, which is an adaptation of the well-known business model canvas. And of course, if we are talking here with a business school like ISCTE, everyone will know about business canvas. But this is a business canvas redesigned to define to help define a machine learning use case. And this is a very useful tool to help us to gather all the information needed and do it in an orderly way. And at the same time, so it is also a framework that is very easy to understand by the customer. So if you compare it with the traditional business model canvas, here we are focusing on what is the data that we need, where is this data, how we are going to collect the data, what is the target, the variable that I want to predict, how often I want to make these predictions, what do I want to do with these predictions, how are we going to measure the success of the actions that I put in place. And this is what we do with this type of tools.
Yeah. So Enrique, in reality, you're addressing the data issue, and we've got a question from the audience, Mr. Enrique Martins, who's an expert on this matter of health and as well technology. And one of his questions is whether NAI is working on any project to identify low quality data sets, because the issue of quality was mentioned. The other thing is that it was mentioned, but in health, it seems often only downstream in the project's line, the issue is identifying, and this then becomes an issue. Another issue that were identified in Health Sierra is explainability requirements, not yet legal, but ethical, eventually legal in the future.
Yeah.
Do you have any explanatory model to explain black box results? Is this clear for you, or do you want me to try to maybe?
The part about
low quality data sets is one of the things of the quality.
So low quality. This is something that happens 99% of the projects and of the clients. So this is not something that we really need to put a lot of effort at the beginning of every AI project, every data science project. And even we have some projects that are only just focused on cleaning data, on guaranteeing the integrity and reliability of the data. So this is something that we need to take care of for every single project. About the black box and explainability of models. So I talked about some tools that really help with this process of creating models, and also it is being every day easier and easier to really understand what these models are predicting, because we can have, for example, what is the impact that each variable is having on the target, to understand what are the key variables that are having correlated with the target that I want to predict. And even we can get to the in this case to the patient level, to understand for each particular patient what are the key reasons for a particular prediction. For example, if I am going to predict the readmission of a patient, or if I am going to predict how propense a patient is to have a disease, I am going to be able to identify what are the key reasons for that prediction. And finally, about the ethical issue, yeah, this is something that maybe we are not very concerned yet, or we are not taking it enough into account. But for sure, this is something that we need to do, and this is something that we can take into consideration when building any type of predictive model, and to really make sure that we are not introducing any type of bias, any type of prejudice for any specific person, race, gender, or whatever. So yeah, this is something that is taking a lot of importance.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if there are further questions. Look, there are more questions popping up, and we are already beyond the time. So I think we are about to close. And thank you for your contribution, Ines and Enrique, for your clarification on this latest question and all the subject in a whole. Besides yourselves, we stay here, and would like to thank all the audience that have resisted up to the end, beyond hours, and everybody is now thinking on vacations. So I want to wish all still the remaining people that stay with us to wish good vacations and the best, and will return by September. And if there is other questions beyond these ones, my email address is here, and you can address any other questions to me, and then now forward it to either tonight or to any other of our members that have participated along this more than a month that we have been running this fifth webinar. And thank you to all, to contribution, to Bernardo, and to all support of ISCTE Executive Education people, and wish you all the best for this season, and see you in September. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Obrigado.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.